So we are drinking the Dry Irish Stout in our LGU series. You can't talk about Dry Irish Stout without talking about English Brown Porter. So 17th, 18th centuries, 18th and 19th centuries, Porter is king. It is globally king. And what they used to make it was called brown malt. And they dried this typically over wood flames, and they dried it to the extent that it would actually pop open like popcorn, and you would get sort of singed bits on it. And this smokiness imparted that character on the beer. Well, around the early 1800s, a guy named Daniel Wheeler comes around and builds the malt kiln. And this changed things drastically because you have the whole color spectrum now of malt to work with. And so he introduced a malt that he could make very dark, so you could just use a little bit of it to get that roast and color character. And he patented it, and it was called Black Patent. And so that the London breweries that made English Porter were like, yeah, no thanks, but the Irish really kind of latched onto it. So that was the first sort of divergent point. But in large part, they were still pretty similar. Then in the late 1800s in Ireland, they passed an act where previously they could only put malted barley in their beers, and it limited what they could make. The brewers lobbied, and they got that law changed, and thus they could start putting different types of things in their beer. And the big thing was unmalted barley, and that is the sort of key characteristic that differentiates the Irish stouts from the London porters, is that they're using unmalted roasted barley, and typically, and we'll get to this later, flaked barley, and both of those really impose a very unique characteristic on this beer, being, you know, a very dry roast, but also a little bit of mouthfeel from that flaked barley. And those were kind of the things that, from a singular beer style, really diverged the two paths. This is the ultimate session stout. This is the session stout, because you don't typically see that, particularly nowadays. Typically, stouts are big. Typically, they have a lot of adjuncts in them, you know, extra stuff, be it vanilla, cocoa nibs. American stouts, again, being American, are the sort of exaggerated version of this. They're typically 6% plus, hoppier. This is more restrained. Obviously, 4% is kind of the touchstone for the style. And yeah, this is just the ultimate crushable dark beer. I will say it's always a very special day in the brewery when we walk in and you can just smell that roast color. You look in the sight glass and you see dark liquid in there, because we brew so many light colored beers, that it's really nice to brew something beautiful that has this gorgeous color to it and has this really intoxicating roast smell. What defines the style is the use of unmalted barley. So roasted barley tending to give a lot of those deeper roast, sort of dark coffee flavors. The flaked barley provides a really nice rounded mouthfeel that, despite the low ABV and the dryness of it, keeps it being drinkable. But we did cheat a little bit and put some chocolate malts in here, because we love British chocolate malts. Pale chocolate in particular has a real chocolate chip cookie feel to it. So we did just a little bit extra added complexity, I feel, adds to the drinkability of the beer. Brewers really love beers that are lower ABV but that are flavorful. This checks both of those boxes. We had previously made Dry Irish Stout on a pilot scale, so all the brewers were very happy to be able to do like a big batch. In terms of pairing, this is a very food-friendly beer. Obviously, I would go, you know, grilled or roasted meats would be wonderful with this, but also if you're down with brunch or breakfast for dinner like I am, this is your guy. If you want something a little bit stronger than coffee, but it still has the same vibe, you're going to get all of those wonderful cocoa and coffee notes from this with just a little bit of, extra alcohol in there. Immediately on the nose, you get a ton of chocolate. It's a little bit of milk chocolate, but also cocoa powder.
It's the worst.
It's really nice because the initial impression of it is of sweetness, but then about mid-palate, you get some of that dry, bitter roast that comes through, and it really just kind of sweeps your palate clean. Again, the ultimate test of drinkability is like, do you want to take another sip? Do you want to have another one of these beers? And I would hope the answer with this is definitely yes.